Hi guys, this is John Adamson, the Rehab Documentation Guru, and today, excuse me, we're going to look at a speech therapy eval, this functional section, and determine whether or not this is telling a good story. And you'll see in a moment why it's not, and we'll talk about what would make it better. So here's a patient who was referred to speech therapy for a swallow dysfunction, dysphagia. Noted to have oral pharyngeal dysphagia by the therapist in the reason for referral. And this is the comparison in the eval of the prior level of function to current level of function. Number one, swallowing status, modified independent for prior level. So when we say modified, we're always talking about some kind of compensations the patient's utilizing to safely swallow in this case. They're not fully independent. They can't be like you or I, perhaps, where we put food in our mouth, we chew it, we swallow it, we're not thinking about anything, we just automatically do it. So this patient is obviously having to do something, but they're independent in those compensations. Now, look at the current level of function. Current level of function is still modified independent. So technically, if we don't even look at the rest of the eval, what we're saying here is there's been no change. So the next question is, why is speech therapy picking them up? Why did they have a diagnosis of oral pharyngeal dysphagia? So let's look on, and we'll note that prior level of function, the patient was noted to have no deficits, but now they are stated to have oral pharyngeal dysphagia. Now I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit. Now the dietary level is kept at regular for solids, but then you look at liquids. The patient is modified independent for thin liquids, prior level of function, modified independent current level of function for nectar thickened liquids. So I'm going to pause for just a moment and ask you a question. Do you see the problem here? Here's the problem. We're comparing apples to oranges. What the therapist should have done is documented how the patient did with thin liquids. If the patient's had a decline in function in terms of the liquid consistency, how are they now doing with thin liquids? They're probably not modified independent, but because the therapist has a changed consistency, and because we still have modified independent, we are showing the reviewer of the claim that the patient has had no functional change, but we're comparing apples to oranges, so it's really not telling a consistent story, and that's problematic. Now let me just talk to you about the oral and pharyngeal dysphagia for a minute that was noted here. This is not proven, and in fact, the rest of the eval contained no data on what we'd call underlying impairments. And if you've been to my class, we talk about the importance of underlying impairments in determining skill, in getting to the root cause of the problem, forming the basis of analysis, the basis of your treatment. There's lots of things that are missing. So this is not a good evaluation. This is not really answering the question of, is there a functional decline as it relates to speech therapy? We can't see it. And it's a comparison of apples to oranges, which is always a bad idea. And we need to compare the same thing to the same thing. Anyway, this has been John Adamson, the Rehab Documentation Guru. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. And if you suggest any future topics for me, I'd be greatly appreciative. But I look at documentation every single day, and I'm likely to find new and, to me at least, interesting stuff that'll be helpful to you as you pursue your cause of getting paid for what you do. Take care and God bless.